cracks in this sport, about to add another chapter. After 2 weekends off, the SMX World Championship resumes at the legendary Unadilla. 40 riders on the gate. Here it is. Revs are up. Gates down. Both championships are close. Some riders returning from injury and even retirement. What's going to happen? We'll even bring Roczen on to talk about it. Here it is. Time to go racing from Unadilla. Yeah, we are back. It is SMX Insider. The 2-weekend break in the SMX World Championship and Pro Motocross is over. We're still the Jasons, Weigandt and Thomas here. 6 motos, 3 rounds remain in Pro Motocross before the playoffs begin. And I feel like this is the first time in this coin flip 50-50 Lawrence v. Lawrence summer where the math is starting to math in one specific direction. A 12-point lead with 6 motos to go, JT, for the ever-consistent Hunter Lawrence. Backs a little against the wall here for Jet. He cannot throw any of these motos away or the math just isn't going to work for him.
Yeah, and we will definitely dive into the specific details of that in this episode. But I agree with you. For the first time, I feel like Jet has kind of taken charge of the I'm the fastest guy category. But then you look at Hunter, who has been so great at managing the situation, not only just in this championship, but in most situations of his racing career. I think it's going to be, in the end, strength versus strength. I think Jet has to go out and execute. He's got to go win. He's got to show exactly what I think he is starting to be able to show again. And I think Hunter has to lean into what he does well, is take what's given, keep the status quo, and manage the situation as is. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I simply have no idea what we're going to get from here, but I think, to your point, we've established kind of what the trend is. Now we'll see what the racing shows.
It's funny, though, because I feel like all summer, whichever one of the brothers wins, it was actually the other one most of the time that rode better and threw it away. Hunter should have won Southwick, threw it away. Jet, the last couple, threw it away. So you're almost saying it's the same thing with the points. I'm coming in saying Hunter has 12 points with 6 motos to go. That's a pretty significant number. But you're not ignoring the fact that the last 3 motos, Jet has clearly made some strides.
Yeah, and I think he will make even more strides. You know, I'm not going to say he got a lot faster over the course of the last couple of weeks, but I think health in that, right ankle has been the biggest storyline of the season. It's really hard to dispute that. So given time off, given time for more therapy, simply allowing it to get back to as close to 100% as possible, I have to think it's going to even exacerbate the trend that we saw in the last few motos. So if you're looking at where does the speed edge lie, that's with Jet. I just don't know in the end if that's going to be enough to get the job done.
No margin for error really at him at this point. He's got to 1-1 it because, Hunter most likely isn't going to hand over a whole pile of points in any of these motos. That's not his thing. So this will be really fun. We have so much, maybe the most ever, to talk about in an episode because of everything that's transpired over the last few weeks. So why not start it in a big way? This might be the best big interview we're going to have all year with none other than the Monster Energy Supercross champion. Oh, this is going to be awesome. None other than the Monster Energy AMA Supercross champion, Ken Roczen, with us. And normally, Ken, I start these interviews saying, hey, thanks for the time because we know how busy you are. In this case, we don't. I know you are busy, but you're not busy doing the normal stuff we see you doing. So first, just give an update on what you've been up to here in the last few months.
Yeah, my July, well, obviously after Salt Lake, I took a couple of weeks to just kind of mess around and pretty much do nothing. But actually from then on, I kept training because I told myself from the beginning on, I don't want to fall into that, since I have the summer open, like a couple months of doing nothing, and then you're kind of starting from scratch, but not really. So I just kept myself up. And then July came and I've just been really busy ever since. I went to England to the ABR festival for Suzuki, and then followed it up right away with a Fox photo shoot. And then I actually went to the Kelly Slater Surf Ranch and actually got to surf thanks to Red Bull. And then the end of July, I went to Japan and just got back. So it feels good to be home and get in a routine and get my sleep schedule right and kind of work in being an athlete again. So this is really important for me to keep a good routine. And when you're on the road, it just makes things a little bit harder with jet lag and stuff. So I've really kept myself busy so far.
when you take that time off, when you don't race all the pro motocross rounds, is it difficult or challenging to come back in and immediately jump in with any sort of momentum? And did you notice that the last couple of years? It was like, hey, I can tell I haven't been racing a lot, and it's hard to be right back on pace with the guys who haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a unique situation because in 2023, I was never hurt. I made it throughout the entire Supercross Championship. Obviously didn't race outdoors, but won. And then, I just wasn't hurt. So I was able to kind of jump right back. And you always take that one race to get back into the intensity and stuff. But that was ultimately why I was so close to the championship coming down to the last round. And then the last couple of years, 2024, my knee, last year, my ankle. So I just always came into SMX just not being ready and fit enough and not enough riding time. So that surely made it a lot more difficult. So I'm kind of curious to see. Obviously, I'm not racing outdoors. And I don't know where people have taken this from with Unadilla because I've normally raced it. People think I'm coming, but I've never said a word about it, right? Like this was the first year where I'm like committing to not doing outdoors just to see what it feels like. And I haven't had an injury. I don't need that one gate drop really. And so I'm honestly just, sticking to my game plan. So I won't be coming to any pro motocross races, but surely SuperMotocross. And I do have some overseas races going on after that. And I haven't even really been riding that much just because I have been so busy. And at one point you're kind of a little bit in a kind of a dead zone, if that makes sense, because I'm so far out from racing. And then, I don't really have any races to get ready to. So I rode usually like once every 2 weeks, but even that is just enough that when I jump on a dirt bike right now, it takes me a day or two to be, back at a level where I can, properly ride. Having said that, it is really tough here during the summer. I mean, it is extremely hot in Florida, and I rode yesterday, and you got to tread very carefully when you come back riding because it doesn't matter how much you do off the bike, gym, running, cycling, whatever it is, you can feel good in all of those categories. Once you jump on a dirt bike, you ain't feeling that great with the heat out, So I'm kind of just figuring out and making my way back into a little bit of consistency of riding. I think that'll do me very well and honestly pump up my confidence a little bit too, getting just some laps in, honestly. But for the most part, I think as long as I'm not hurt, I'm usually pretty good at getting right back into race mode.
When do you start ramping it up? You're back from Japan. It sounds like your travel slowed down some. Is now when you start to get a little bit more serious? We're a month out almost to the day. Is now when you really start to lean into that and get serious about the playoff rounds?
Yeah, I have to ultimately. Obviously right now I am riding motocross for practice purposes. We have been getting so much rain here in Florida. The Supercross, nobody's been riding Supercross. The tracks are absolutely hammered. So right now it's definitely time where I have to look at the schedule a few weeks, a couple weeks ahead too, and be like, hey, when do we start riding Supercross? All of us really that race SMX, right? I am not too worried about it. As long as I'm on a dirt bike and I'm riding motocross right now and keeping myself fit, I feel like a day or two on Supercross and I'll be right back into it. So I'm expecting for the next week or two to be riding motocross with everybody else, just because due to the weather, it's so hard during the summer to keep the Supercross tracks in shape, just because it rains almost every single day and the whole track is rain rotted. It needs a full revamp. It's just really difficult to handle that, honestly.
Yeah, I know that dynamic all too well, having spent my entire career in Florida. So can certainly understand that. Okay, final question. This is going to be the hardest one. When are we going to get news about 27 and beyond? I know everybody out there speculating, wondering, and I don't expect an answer here, but is there a timeline that you're thinking about a go or no go for the future?
Dude, I've been wrestling with that question for the last couple of months, and I've kept pushing it off. Like, I still got time, I don't have to worry about it. But man, it's a difficult one. Like, I feel like I should race, not just thinking about myself and what I want, but also I think it'd be awesome for the fans. Suzuki hasn't had a number one. I haven't had a number one plate in Supercross. So those are all things to think about, right? Larry hasn't been there the entire year. He should be all ready to go for this following year, where I'm thinking, hey, I did this whole season pretty much without Larry. Like, it would be nice to have, I guess, one last hurrah, if you want to call it, and do that. So I have to make my mind up here soon. But I've said it before many times, a year or so ago, or over the last couple of years, I told my wife, if the stars align, I haven't had the championship at that point. It was really far away. If the stars align and I can get that championship, the feeling that it gave me, just because I've worked on it for so long and it hasn't happened, and it was highly unlikely, I was like, if I get the championship, I'm done. Like I'm done. So now I do have the championship, and I have to say it is a bigger question for me just because it is a gigantic monkey off the back. It's not like I'm 24, 23, 25 anymore. I'm not saying I'm old by any means, right? But I am at an age where I'm like, man, I've been pro for 17 years. I've done a lot of racing and all of it. So it's, man, it's a tough one because part of me obviously wants to, and feels the need to, but there's a big part of me as well that's like, man, I kind of like what I'm doing right now, even though we've had a few months, like it's almost like the longer I'm away from riding, the less it bothers me. So I am waiting to just kind of ramping it back up, practicing again, going to the races. I'm hoping that everything falls back into a routine and I'm like, oh yeah, like this is my thing and I'm going to keep going. Where as of right now, I've kind of been away from riding for a bit and it made me not crave it as much. Although I love riding my dirt bike, you know what I mean? But it's just one of those things, you're away from it for a couple of weeks and before you know it, you kind of forget about it. I've been doing a lot of running. I've been finding joy in a lot of other things than riding as well. So it's a little bit of a waiting game, man. It's a tough one. I feel like I need to make the decision. And I'm honestly, the reason I'm pushing it out is because I'm waiting for that day or time where I'm like, nah, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just get it done. And it just hasn't quite been there yet.
So that's interesting to hear that, that you don't know either way. So we'll be on pins and needles for that one. You got that monkey off the back. I want to know now, we saw the emotion at Salt Lake. Obviously, you did a lot of media that week after, whatnot. But in your daily life now, does it seem different? Has it sunk in? Do you feel this almost weight off the shoulders 2 months after? Does it actually go that far?
Not really. I mean, people always think that your life changes and everything, but everything stays the same. I'm honestly not even thinking about it anymore, if that makes sense, which is not that it's sad, but it's like, the anticipation is so long and then it comes down to the day and it's gone with the snap of a finger and it's over, and then you kind of ride that high for a couple of days afterwards. And then, I don't know, motocross championship's been going on. I've been watching every single race and I don't know, we just go about our life. Having said that, of course, nobody can take that championship away from me. And it's just something that's kind of like, at least in my personal record books, and that's really all that matters. So yeah, no matter what, I feel like if there is a 2027 season for me, I would go into that championship as if I don't have a championship. You know what I mean? Like the focus is the same. I don't want to ride that. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. If I race, I'll go to the race and basically completely restart everything and just pretend like nothing ever happened and I don't have that championship. I think that would be the best way of doing it.
Last thing for me, speaking of restart, every time we see you hanging out with anyone from Suzuki at the top, and then especially when we see you in Japan, people start getting very excited that maybe this title or your overall profile is going to relaunch the brand. You've done an amazing job, and so has Dustin and everyone on your team and Larry to get them back to where they're winning titles. But people want to see more. So when you go over there and you talk to these people, does that even give you an indication of how excited Suzuki is and what this might mean to them?
Absolutely. I mean, first off, I said, when it came down to it, I'm finally going to Japan. I have never been to Japan, and I'm like, I have raced for all these factory Japanese teams for so many years, and I've not made it to Japan. So once I started with Honda, like there was the plan, but then I got hurt really bad in 17 and then 18, and just like the timing of things just had never really worked out. And yeah, right now it was finally time. So I think it was really important and really great to make that personal connection, because I've literally talked to every single person there, all the engineers. And it's kind of funny because, they had some meetings set up and it was kind of put on the down low in a sense. It's funny to think about right now. Like, hey, we're just going to talk to a couple of the younger engineers. I walk into a room of 30 engineers sitting there with a stage in the front, like the whole nine. And I'm like, oh, here we go, like a couple of young engineers, right? So it was really funny. We had a great time. Peyton actually came with me, my practice mechanic. We had a really good time, got a great sense of the culture, which is one of my favorite things about traveling the world. And especially to a place, after being almost everywhere, in a sense, but going to a place that is, I guess, kind of important to us, right? With all these with Japanese brands and stuff, and I've never been there. So it was really cool to get a feel for the culture. And then, I met the president and all of the higher ups. We had plenty of meetings and stuff. So that was really cool. We have some things in the works. I got to test one day with all the guys there. So we have some things in the works. I was able to put some graphics on a bike, you know what I mean, at the station where they put that on, and check the bike. Like, it comes to a final stage where a couple of people like check and make sure that everything, you know, is basically ready for it to be transported to dealerships and stuff. We can't have any bloopers, right? So we're checking out the bikes and stuff. It was really cool.
Dude, they need to mention which units got the Ken Roczen inspection. Throw a couple $100 extra on the MSRP.
There will be signs.
Yeah, signature series. Hey, awesome. I think with someone like this, sounds like you're living your best life right now. So hopefully things go well in September when we see you back on a motorcycle, but enjoy the summer and let us know when you got more news than that. Otherwise, thanks for the time.
And honestly, and you know, I'm not secretive about anything. I'm giving you my true opinion. I just feel like I should race. I haven't made the final yes yet or no yet. I don't know. It's like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Let's put it that way.
Okay. We'll be here when you're ready.
No matter what, though, if I do decide to go, I will be ready. I can tell you that much.
There you go.
Yes, this is not just, you won't be out there just to wave to the fans. No. You'll be there to race.
You know, that's one of those things like, oh, no, you have the championship and all the pressure's gone and you can just kind of ride, you know? And I'm like, that's not me. Like, I'm not just going to go out there and mess around and like do it a year. And, you know, if I'm 5th or 10th and just whatever, like, there's no such thing. Like, if I'm going to go race, I'm going to go race for real, you know? And it'll be the same thing as it was when I didn't have a championship.
All right. Well, you know where we'd be voting. We would love to see you out there, but you do you. You do you.
Hey, yeah, I honestly thought about that. I'm like, maybe I should do a little Instagram poll, but I already know the answer. So
it's going to be 100% yes. Well, maybe 100%. maybe like Webb and Jet, and if you guys are going to vote no, but everybody else is going to be a yes.
Yeah, that's right. If you're not on the gate, everyone else is 100% yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the time. Keep enjoying the summer. We'll see you in September.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So over the break, big breakthrough here. We had a big interview. Now I got big news. For the first time ever, this weekend at Unadilla, we're going to have a Friday show live. This is the first ever SMX Live presented by Honda. You can watch it at the SuperMotocross YouTube channel, SuperMotocross Facebook, or if you're international, the SMX Video Pass. And what you're going to be able to watch is the first WMX moto. And since we're already covering that, why not start a little early and also show you the half hour of press day riding with the top 450 and 250 riders who are part of press day on Friday. So this is going to be 1:30 to 2:30 Eastern. Again, SuperMotocross YouTube, SuperMotocross Facebook, and the SMX Video Pass. JT, the press day ride, which has been going on for 50 years at these races, has never been broadcast live. And the WMX First Moto, this is going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. And, you know, for one simple reason, if you just were looking for one reason to tune into the Friday media portion, Eli Tomac is going to be out there. He's scheduled to appear on Friday. We know, and we'll get into it in this show about Team USA. Will he or won't he? But I think Eli Tomac coming back after the break, everybody's looking for a better result. And this is the only track that he doesn't have an overall win in the 450 class in. So just go watch Eli Tomac. And then the WMX, they've been gone. The two stars, both Charlie Cannon and Lachlan Turner, and also Taylor, have been in Australia. They've been battling it out down there. They have concluded that championship. They're going to be back, so we're going to get to watch that first moto. We have not seen them in a month or so that's going to be great to get their first moto in as well. So what a great opportunity for all the fans that aren't able to attend Unadilla.
And then Saturday race day, same old times. That's race day live at 10 o'clock for 1 hour of coverage for qualifying. And then the motos will begin with a ton of coverage, including WMX now, starting at 1 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. So there you go. That's a big change. A couple weeks off for the series. Now we have a Friday broadcast, and there's going to be big changes on the track too. For example, we think Aaron Plessinger, Justin Cooper will come back and race this weekend. Who stepped up with the break? So good luck to you fans if you want to put some smart money down on it. You can scan that flow code on the screen right now. There are prop markets and live bets available right now. Scan the flow code on the screen or go to nxtbets.com/playsmx. See what's available in your area, but good luck trying to predict this, especially the whole shot part.
Just pick a Honda for the win and the whole shot in the 450 class. I made a mistake last week's show trying to do your job, Weege. I said they've been 18 for 18. It's actually 16 for 16 the Hondas have won, so I don't really see that changing. Their starts have been lights out. I did tell you to stick with the Hondas, and Prado got one recently, so my bad on that. But I just don't see how you could get away from the Hondas in both categories, both whole shot and win being the smart money this week too.
All right, 30 board time. We talked about the break in the SMX World Championship, but for most people in this industry, there was not a break. That is actually part of the schedule because of the Monster Energy Amateur National at Loretta Lynn's, which runs for an entire week between those Washougal and Unadilla rounds. So we got two big topics here, one young and one old. Let's go to the young riders first, the graduates, so to speak, who you'll see probably jump in at one of these last three pro races, but they'll probably also race the SMX next combine at Ironman. So Landon Gibson wins the AMA Nikki Hayden Horizon Award. He finished second in both of the pro sport classes. And that must have been a tough call. Gibson, who you probably heard of, he's ridden SMX Next and some Pro Nationals a lot. The 2 seconds were paired up against Ryder Malinowski of Club MX, who won one of the titles, but crashed out of the other one. And then you got Carson Wood, who's a pretty well-established name as well. So it's hard to pick a fave out of those three. The main thing I'm going to suggest here is, JT, the Malinowski thing. He's been racing in Canada. I don't know where his ceiling is. I don't know how to compare it. He's using a totally different pathway than most of these guys, but he's clearly fast.
He's coming out of nowhere, too. Think about how little time he has had to make this much improvement. That speaks to a really high ceiling. When you see progression this quickly, that means in most cases, there's a lot left there. And think about the year he's had too, that huge crash at Anaheim 2, really kind of derailed momentum. And here he is again, kind of breaking through the top ceiling of this class. So I agree with you. There's a lot to like with Ryder Malinowski, but we got to talk about the old guys. Now, if this was a Star Wars movie, Weege, I know you're a huge Star Wars fan. This would be Return of the Zacho. This might be the old guys strike back. They came out in full force. And Zach Osborne and Phil Nicoletti, let's be real, they put it to these youngsters early on. And I can't imagine what the conversations were like for Carson Wood, going back to the truck and having to face those guys who winning is the only acceptable outcome, getting beaten by guys who are in full retirement mode several years in. So what a performance by the old guys, throwing Andrew Short, coming back, putting in a perfect week. Ezra Lusk dominates plus 50. It was a stars of yesteryear show all week long. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, and Zach Osborne, who did win Open Pro Sport, he entered a class against the young kids. He beat them for the overall. As the week went on, Gibson got the better of him, but Gibson wasn't consistent enough to win the title. Now Zacho's going to race the last 3 rounds with the Liqui Beta team. Zacho's, it's been pretty rough, anything he's tried since he retired. It turns out that he had some health issues that he was sorting out. He was much more of the old Zach Osborne level at Loretta. So this is going to be interesting to see where he slots in here in the 450 class, JT.
Yeah, this is really cool. And I think he will, but I hope that he can just kind of take this in stride and not let expectation get the best of him. Because let's be real, when he left this class, he was a championship level caliber guy. And it's really hard to let bygones be bygones and to get out there in the heat of battle, not think you're supposed to be where you were, a la 2020 and 2021. So I hope he just keeps it fun, whatever the result is, what the result is, and just enjoy the fact that he's getting another chance to relive a life gone by.
Yeah, he told me, crazily enough, he only rode, I think, 22 450 Nationals in his career. He got there, then he hurt his back, then he was gone. So not unfinished business, but he definitely would like to line up for a few more. That's cool. Speaking of the young kids, we're going to mention the SMX Next World All-Stars here. So when the playoffs begin, the first 2 rounds will host the SMX Next World All-Stars, similar to SMX Next program we see in Supercross and Motocross. The best finishers essentially at these big races, that includes the combines, at Loretta's, both Pro Sport and the B riders, who are probably Pro Sport level next year, will all be able to race these first 2 rounds. We just mentioned some of those names. You'll probably see Gibson and Wood, maybe Malinowski in these first 2 rounds. But what this also means is you won't see the 65s and the Super Minis. They're not going to race at any of the 3 playoff rounds anymore. And then the final round, I have a WMX showcase round. So I thought it was spectacular to see the 65 riders jumping triples, but that has passed. And it's going to be more of a professional level at these 3 rounds with 2 World All-Stars and a WMX at the end. Good opportunity for these kids to streamline the program and have 2 shots at it.
Yeah, it really is. And 2 main points for me on this. One, I think it speaks to the validity of this concept where you have riders like Carson Wood and Landon Gibson willing to stick around, because let's be real, years ago, those guys perform well at Loretta's, they're gone. They're off to the pro class without a second thought. They would never consider sticking around, racing more amateur events. Now, everyone sees the value of this SMX Next program going out there. And I just don't see a world where names like Carson Wood or Landon Gibson would be on the podium or getting any sort of fanfare at those playoff rounds if they could qualify for it. This is their chance for their sponsors, for their teams, for their own name to get out there and go try to be on the podium or win these World All-Stars playoff rounds. That means a lot, and it could mean a lot for their future prospects as well. So I think that's a great sign that they're willing to stay down from the teams and the riders for these playoff rounds. And then second, think about the riders in the 250B class. Those top 5, they're going to get the opportunity to go race these rounds, and just what that means for their future, the experience they will gain. They're going to get a real glimpse of what it will take, not only to step up to the SMX Next level, but think about those kids, the great guys like Carson Wood that they're going to race there. They've already gotten a taste of what the professional ranks are like. So it's a real opportunity for them to understand what the ask is going to be over the next 18 to 24 months out of them as they continue their journey as well.
Okay, SMX medical update time. We bring in the good doctor, Dr. Joe McGinley. JT and I were bench racing about Zach Osborne making his return to pro racing, not full-time, just going to race these last 3 nationals on the back of Loretta's. Now, the great thing for us is that Zach has always been one of the most transparent, forthcoming athletes to deal with ever. And he was telling everyone at Loretta's, both to me personally and on his own Instagram show, that as the week went on, the 36-year-old body was starting to fade. So talk about the difference between a 16-year-old who's racing against and a 36-year-old as far as recovery day-to-day goes.
Well, what an exciting week at Loretta's. Zach had the fastest time overall of any racer down there, so that's impressive. It's great to see him back out there. Now, a 36-year-old being sore at the end of a race, we don't need transparency for that. We're all going to make that assumption. We've all been down that road and knows what it feels like. But, he's coming back to compete this weekend at the Nationals, so it's going to be a different story. So you're going to have to plan. It's going to take quite a bit of focus and training to be prepared for this. He has the speed, we know that, so qualifying times will likely be good. He'll probably be up front at the beginning of the race. I suspect by Moto 2 he's going to be feeling it no matter what he does. It's just not enough time to train the race pace. These guys have been out there consistently for years and all season. They're at their top of their game out there competing. So it'll be fun to see Zach out there, but it's going to take a little bit to get that rust off and get going. Now, what's going to be important is in between races as well as after the race, how you prepare for that next race. So this first one, I would consider it a warm-up, just get the rust off, understand the speed, understand how the body is going to respond, and then between this race and the next one, that's where I'll have to put in the time on recovery and making sure that there's a balance of taking care of your body and being on the bike, because you don't want to just be on the bike the whole time. You're just going to burn out. It's just not enough time to get up to that pace and speed. And again, as we get older, 36 is not old, but as we get older, it takes longer to recover. Your body takes more time to heal as you're out there. It'll take more time for the muscles to recover, to get your electrolytes and nutrition back on track. So that's just going to take a little bit of time. But, the speed's there, right? So once you have the speed, everything else is just putting a plan together and dealing with the pain. It's going to be painful, but you have to deal with that pain and get through it. The only other X factor here is if you hit the ground. If you hit the ground and have a crash, that's not going to feel too good. Again, it's going to take a bit to get back and to recover. Even if it's just a contusion or bruise or something, it's going to hurt more because, it just will. You're not used to it. You haven't been out there. You're a bit older. It's going to take a little more time.
Okay, so you mentioned there being older and taking more time. Now, as someone in my 40s who is fighting father time with everything I've got, what's actually happening with this body? Like, what biologically is not functioning as well, or what is he missing versus a kid like Carson Wood or Landon Gibson, the kids he was having to battle at Loretta Lynn's all week? Why was there biologically a drop off for Zach in performance versus what those kids could just bounce back so quickly and be like, what do you mean we've been racing all week, so what?
Yeah, again, even in your 20s, your body starts to turn that corner and you start to age, right? So your muscles can't build the way they used to. Your body metabolism is not the same. Those things start to change actually in your mid to late 20s. So when you're in your 30s, you're obviously feeling it and not having that same capability of repair muscle. So muscle repair and muscle damage really is the key thing. When you're weightlifting, when you're doing anything cardiovascular, when you're out there on the bike, it's that breakdown of the muscle and rebuilding of the muscle to strengthen it and build that endurance. That's the process that you develop into an elite athlete, or you develop to a stronger level in your sport. You can still do it in your 30s and 40s. It just takes a different approach and it takes more time. You can't just go out there and start hitting the weights or hitting the track and expect that same metabolic recovery and build on the muscle. So I think the muscle breakdown is probably the biggest thing. And it just takes longer as your metabolism decreases and you age, and that process is just not as efficient as it is in your teens and early 20s.
Get in touch with these guys. Give them the info. The more they can do, probably the better it is for the fans too, right? It would be fun to have them still out there.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward to cheer Zach on this weekend. And yeah, it's great to see some of these guys still at it and still competitive and still super fast. So once you have the speed, everything else can be worked on.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, here's another hot topic that we have to cover. My gosh, there's so much going on. Yeah, remember Motocross of Nations and Team USA? We have not heard much about it this summer because I think if you're the AMA, you're completely in a scramble right now. The list should, of course, start on the American 450 side with Hayden Deegan, but he has not raced his event before. The only one that he was going to race was last year when it was in America, so I don't know if he's going to race this year in France. Whether he does or not, you still need more guys. So you mentioned Eli Tomac. Is he going to step up? The Tomac we saw at these last two rounds, that's not Team USA worthy. It's Eli. He should get better. Plessinger and Jay Cooper back. They're veterans of this. But I think it's so crazy right now, JT. I'm going to sound the alarm. Maybe one of these 250 guys needs to race a 450 there. Kitchen or Hymas or Beaumer or something, because it is looking a little desperate here for Team USA.
Yeah. Well, this is me flipping a coin on air. I don't have a coin, it's an imaginary coin, but that's what I think we're at right now. And I kind of don't see it the same way as you as far as the 250 guys stepping up. I think we have 450 guys. It's just, are they willing to participate if they're at full strength and full capability? Because I think Jay Coop has already proven time and time again, he's more than good enough at this race. And I think it's time to give him a chance on the 450. I really do. Him stepping down last year, listen, it wasn't a banner day for him on the 250 last year, but he was willing to do it. Go back to 2022, he was a superstar on that stage in 2022. So I feel like he's owed one. And if he comes out showing anything near what he's capable of at the last three rounds, Jay Coop is an in for me. Eli Tomac, very similar thought process. If he's back to his best form, you don't need to say more than that. Eli Tomac is a shoo-in if he is Eli Tomac. The problem is, as you mentioned, he has not been Eli Tomac over the last couple of rounds, and I'm sure he desperately, more than anybody else, MXON notwithstanding, wants to be back to the Eli Tomac we know. Deegan is a no-brainer. The unanswerable question is, will he or won't he? We know there's always been stipulations. He wants to be on a winning team. There's a lot of factors when you think about a guy like Hayden Deegan going that are not always the same factors for other riders. So I truly have no idea, is he willing to go? And he may not even have a firm answer, because he could be saying, I want to see what the team looks like. He's mentioned in the past he doesn't have any interest in going and being an also-ran at an event like this. So time will tell. And then you finally get to the 250 class, more questions than answers. Again, I think Hymas wants to go. He's been chosen before, hasn't been able to go. So if he overperforms or even just lives up to what he's been doing, I think that's a fine option. Levi Kitchen, we don't know how do we gauge, Kawasaki's interest? How do we gauge, that's been a sticking point in the past, not to say it would be again, but we have to mention it because it has been. Is Kitchen a guy? But I'll tell you, the way that Kitchen starts have been struggling, and we'll touch on this moving forward in a little bit when we discuss this 250 Pro Motocross Championship, that is a big problem at a race like the Motocross of Nations, because you are racing against 450s on a 250. And if you can't get a good start on a 250 against your own size motorcycle, you have literally zero chance of getting a good start against 450s. So that is very problematic when I think about Levi Kitchen going. So again, I'm not here to solve the equation here. I'm more presenting more questions, but I do think we have enough talent to be a relevant team. It's just going to be, how do we end up getting there? Godspeed to Mike Pelletier, who has to weave through all this thing. I'm sure it's going to be a very busy weekend for him in Unadilla. Forget about the racing, just Team USA is going to be busy enough for him.
Yeah, you're essentially trying to extrapolate Tomac, Plessinger, J. Coop. How good are they right now, and how good can they be in a little over a month? And that's a very tough situation to be in. If they go out and crush it, Unadilla, easy. But you can't guarantee that because they've all had their lumps so far this year. We do know this. You can help support Team USA. The old RaiseIt4USA.com is still up and running throughout the year now. It's become a fundraiser for a variety of events, but it's back for the Motocross of Nations team right now. So RaiseIt4USA.com, the number 4. Shout out to Club MX's Mike Bonacci, who's been collecting graphics and jerseys and plastic, like really cool stuff. They're not asking for donations. They're asking for you to buy cool stuff that you would want anyway. And then all the money goes to the Team USA effort. And we've seen it ourselves, especially when the event goes back to Europe like it is this year. The infrastructure improvements to Team USA the last few years have been massive because of this fundraising effort. So get on board and get yourselves some cool stuff. And one other big note for the nations is the Lawrences have already said they're out. Australia's won the last 2 years, obviously on their backs. They want a full off season off. So if you are thinking of Team USA, Hayden Deegan, it's going to be an easier pathway to win. And if you get just one, even just one, you can change the terms for the rest of your career as far as participation. So no Team Australia, there will be in Australia, but not with the Lawrences. That's going to be a tough road for them. Let's get back to the Lawrences against each other here in Pro Motocross. No one hates saying a guy's going to get no worse than second in a race more than me. But what are the odds that Hunter Lawrence is off the podium in any of these 6 motos? There is a very slim margin for Jet Lawrence. If he has one more bad one, I don't think he can get the math on his side.
It definitely can happen. I do not want to cross out that possibility because we've seen it this season. Now, as far as the winner goes, the other brother has been able to back that up and immediately step in and fill the void. But we only have to go back to Southwick to see Hunter make a critical mistake and not be able to get second in the moto. Like it is very feasible. Is it likely? I understand your point, but it's possible. And that's where the maths could get wonky. The best thing possible here for Hunter Lawrence is a tit for tat yo-yo situation where it's keep the status quo each and every weekend. And I promise you, as a former racer, that's where his head is at. Of course he wants to win the race, but he knows time is on his side, and it is the number one enemy of Jet Lawrence is the dwindling time we have in every single moto that goes by. It gets exponentially harder to close down 12 points.
And now we can get into this 250 chaos, which is the fact that the points, I just did a whole diatribe monologue on how big the 12-point lead was for Hunter Lawrence. I do not believe the 7-point lead for Levi Kitchen means that much in the 250 class because Cole Davies has proven when he's on, so far no one's been able to beat him. There's not a lot of margin for error. If he has a couple more bad races, it's over, but he has momentum after that performance last time out at Washougal.
Yeah, I think this might be the least I've ever felt like 7 points mattered. Possibly Eli Tomac in Supercross was giving me some of those thoughts earlier this year. But look at the swings in this 250 class. It's 20 points a weekend. These guys are going up and down on each other. So, I don't think 7 points really matters. I think whoever gets good starts, whoever performs, and whoever goes and wins these races is going to be your champion. The 7 points, sure, it's impossible for me to say they don't matter, but I do not think they will be the storyline, which is a huge departure from where we are in the 450 class too.
And amongst all that, already we're talking about a ton. Don't forget that WMX is back this weekend. We mentioned the Friday show, the first ever live show on Friday. That'll be, again, 1:30 to 2:30 Eastern. You can watch it on the SuperMotocross YouTube channel or Facebook or the SMX Video Pass. And then Moto 2 for WMX to determine the overall will take place on Saturday. Going to be interesting what condition everybody is in. They've been racing all around the world, most of the WMX racers. Who's going to be ready?
Yeah, I think it's going to be down to those two again. I would love to see KK Nielsen get into this fight. You know, she's been lurking back there battling for podiums. You mentioned condition that they're in. Charlie Cannon suffered a broken shoulder blade that she was fighting through, finding ways to still get out there. So does that still show up in the results? But really, this has been the Lala Turner show. It really has been. She's carried that tradition down to Australia, dominating. She had a perfect season down there. So it's really hard for me to get away from Lala being the favorite and Charlie being on the outside looking in, trying to find a way to take away from the excellence that Lala has been putting in.
So watch it on Friday. This is going to be really fun. We'll be involved with the broadcast, of course. And it's probably an idea that's time has come. There's been activities on Friday at these races for a while. Why not let people watch, right?
I'm coming in the booth. Make room.
Love it.
We're going 3 wide in the booth,
Yep.
and we're going to be covering this WMX Moto 1. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to join you. A little bit of a, different aspect for me. I'm going to be in the air conditioning with you guys. And Sophie Phelps will be down trackside, adding in her insight. She was out there. She knows exactly what these women had gone through. So she'll be down on the track giving us the scoop on what's happening down there. So it's going to be awesome. I love this edition. For a lot of people, think about if you're sitting in your office on Friday, being able to tune in. I'm not advocating for people not working, but just maybe throw an extra, little tab up there with the, YouTube in there, and you can watch this. It's going to be a great edition. I think it's just another step forward as the sport continues to evolve. This is the most accessible sport there is, bar none, full stop, and this is just adding to that.
Well, folks, you know that there's a lot of storylines coming into a race where Unadilla, one of the most legendary names, one of the most legendary tracks in this sport, really hasn't been mentioned as its own character in this drama yet. So let's put the spotlight on this very rugged track in upstate New York with the track map.
You know what's funny about Unadilla? If you went back to the early 70s, I think the first actual race here was in 1969, but go back to the 70s, it wouldn't look all that much different than this. And yes, sure, there's been small changes over the years, but the layout isn't all that much different. The dirt has changed tremendously though. Look at those years. Loam, it would start out as grass, and it would just be one of those tracks that lived in lore. People would talk about it for years about how loamy it was, the legacy of Unadilla. Well, all that shifted and that dirt exited, and we left a really hard bedrock that riders, including myself, didn't love. It was really challenging. There was brutal rocks and not much traction. Well, kudos to the Robinson family. They have brought that dirt back in, and I remember the first year, it was 2012, was my last time racing this, was the first year that they started this process, and it's gotten better and better and better. And now we're at this track where I think riders truly enjoy going back to Unadilla, and that was not a thing 20 years ago. So kudos to them. I think the racers are the beneficiaries of this. Everybody gets to watch a great racetrack with multiple lines, traction. You see riders moving all over the racetrack. So Unadilla has now brought itself back to the forefront of some of the best tracks in the world. I think they had lost that magic there for a while, so it's great to see.
Yeah, what's also cool is I think Southwick is a track that plays most to strengths and weaknesses, but I think you can make an argument that Unadilla is second as far as there are some guys that really excel there, and there are some guys that really struggle there. So that tends to mix up what you see on some of these weekends. You'll see a guy won it out of nowhere, or one of the contenders struggle. So that's going to make it even more interesting amongst the 100 other cool stories we just gave you on this show. We remind you again of how and where to watch. Again, the Friday program will be 1:30 to 2:30. That is SMX Live presented by Honda, SuperMotocross YouTube, SuperMotocross Facebook, and the SMX Video Pass on Friday. And then the coverage on Saturday, the usual Peacock and the SMX Video Pass. 10 to 11 Eastern will be Race Day Live qualifying coverage. And then 1 o'clock, roll it on for about 5 hours. We'll give you all the motos and 450s and 250s and the second WMX moto and the post-race show presented by Bass Pro Shops. Man, I haven't been in this level of anticipation for a late season race for a long time, between all the changes the last few weeks, how close the points are, riders coming back. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully we see Unadilla, and if not, tune in starting on Friday this weekend.